Good evening, I'm Meleika Gardner. I'm a legislative advocate and founder of Where the People Meet TV. Been getting the voice of the people for over 10 years now in Evanston, Illinois. I can start now. The last meeting, Councilmember Sean Isles spoke from the heart. He said, too many people are unhoused and on a waiting list when he leaves that council meeting. And that's why he voted in favor and is in so much support of 605 Davis. Because he felt something had to be done urgently. And he made it very clear, urgent. But here's what doesn't add up. When it comes to the Evanston Property Tax Circuit Breaker Program, a pilot that already has identified funding that won't take from anyone else, it won't burden anyone else. There's no middleman. There's no organization to take their fees and their cut. No backroom deals that some people are guilty of up here. And money that goes directly from the city to the resident. The money can be followed. Suddenly it becomes stalled and they want to send it to strategic housing, HCDC. Even Councilmember Bobby Burns admitted that the strategic housing stalled for 6 months, and I asked him why, and he said he didn't know. You all say that you're about residents in jeopardy of losing their homes, but this is the problem. The protection is not there for those who are already here. We're all for growth. We're all for growth. But you got to protect the people that are already here, and that's what this program is about. And it won't cost anyone anything.
Thank you very much.
So I don't understand why you would want to stall this and send it to strategic housing.
Thank you very much.
We met with Cook County for a year. Cook County, we asked for city staff support for a year, and they did not help us. Cook County was great guidance and direction and gave us great information, and we did this all for the people and the NAACP and housing experts.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Sam Gaiman, who will be followed by Paul Breslin, and then Dan Lev.
It's time for the circuit breaker program to come forward, not another committee, but to action. Don't be hypocrites because you just applaud the Evanston Community Foundation for food.
Thank
How
you
about
very
housing?
much. The next speaker is Sam Gaiman.
How about helping them with their property
taxes? The next speaker
taxes?
is Sam Gaiman.
Enough with the performance, Mayor Biss.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Sam Gaiman.
And Bobby already made it clear he does not want us to get the money because he wants it first. He made it clear in a video already.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you did. 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 Yes.
We're not going to do this now. Ms. Gardner. Ms. Gardner, please.
Last night was one of those moments where years of advocacy, countless meetings, and constant obstruction finally collided. Just minutes before the city council meeting began, I received word that 5 council members were planning to stall the Evanston Property Tax Circuit Breaker Program, a program that's been in the works for a full year to help longtime residents stay in their homes. After hearing that, I tore up the speech I had prepared, because how do you calmly explain betrayal that deep when city officials are quietly plotting to kill something meant to protect the people they're supposed to serve? I was furious. I tried to collect myself, but I couldn't. So when my name was called, I spoke from the heart, raw and unscripted. Mayor Daniel Biss limited public comment to just 1 minute and 20 seconds. But when I hit that mark, I was just getting started, and I didn't stop. I was told later that police were walking up the aisle ready to remove me. But when I stepped out to cool off, they gave me a nod, even a wink, like they understood, because the frustration so many of us feel with this leadership is real. During my comments, Councilmember Bobby Burns and I went back and forth. He's been acting like the Northwestern Affordable Housing Fund is his achievement, his money. But let's be clear, that money came from community pressure, not from any single politician. Northwestern spun that negotiation to their advantage, and instead of putting real negotiators, real experts at the table to negotiate with Northwestern, Mayor Daniel Biss sent council members to negotiate with no community oversight. Even as someone who initially supported the Ryan Field concerts, yes, I did, I couldn't stay silent after learning how the administration moved behind the scenes, including a motion authorized by Mayor Biss himself that would have ended a decades-old decree protecting residents' voices. Thankfully, Judge Nancy Maldonado denied that federal motion, and the community's right to be heard was preserved. So yes, I snapped, because what happened wasn't just politics. It was a betrayal of trust, again. But I don't regret a word. This was me standing up, not just for the Evanston Property Tax Circuit Breaker program, but for every resident who's tired of backroom deals and leadership that treats our community like an inconvenience instead of a priority.
440 left.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to make one little comment. I hear a little bit of possessiveness over this funding and about like how it was gathered. And I want to point out that my understanding is that when we have developments of this nature, we usually try to plan our community benefits for the residents that are most impacted by that development. And this has definitely, on certain terms, has impacted the 7th Ward, and the residents in this area are still having to deal with the construction. And so this idea that, that some people feel as if they are entitled to decide what happens to it, or that it is quote unquote someone's money or someone's pet project. At the end of the day, like this money should be going to things that disproportionately impact residents in the 7th Ward who have bared the cost and are continuing to. And the real gift that the residents in the 7th Ward gave to the rest of Evanston is that we were able to balance our budget off of the permitting fees and the other different taxes that we're taking from Northwestern. And so I'll say on that note, I do think it would be very reasonable if we find that residents that are in this ward disproportionately are benefited or impacted or in any type of way experience some type of positive result from whatever we decide on, that would not be an unreasonable thing to happen. And I actually might even suggest that it's due to this part of the community. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Periel Davis, for saying what so many of us have been thinking. Even you could see Councilmember Bobby Burns' sense of entitlement over that Northwestern fund. Let's remember, Councilmember Clare Kelly pushed for real expert negotiators at that table with Northwestern, but Mayor Daniel Biss chose his loyalist on the council instead. And now, that same arrogance is what's stalling the Evanston Property Tax Circuit Breaker program.
In terms of this is to Councilmember Davis, I just want to be clear on what my comments were when I brought up the hard-fought affordable housing funds. It was not to suggest any type of entitlement to how the funds were used.
Now here comes Councilmember Bobby Burns trying to backtrack after Councilmember Periel Davis and myself called it out. But viewers can go watch past council and committee meetings for yourself. The arrogance and the entitlement over that Northwestern fund speaks for themselves. There's already a proposal on the table for how to use a portion of those dollars. And instead of supporting it, he plotted to stall it. No backtracking now. The record is clear.
In order to put something forward, you don't have to make yourself the hero of it all the time. one thing that you should always be careful about is people that they can't give any credit to anybody, and in this context, the city, and that the only time they can give credit is when they're the hero of the story.
Now, Councilmember Bobby Burns has given this long soliloquy about people who always need to be the hero. Is he talking to himself? Because Councilmember Clare Kelly brought forward a real solution. She's adding to the list of other programs that the city has created to help people who are struggling. She brought forward the Evanston Property Tax Circuit Breaker program because she listened to the residents. And all she's requesting is to use just a portion of the Northwestern Affordable Housing Fund without burdening other taxpayers. She never once pounded her chest or demanded a crown. Meanwhile, Bobby's thrown tantrums in meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, and his own words show how entitled he feels to that Northwestern Affordable Housing Fund. Just go back and watch this entire meeting. I suggest that you do that. Watch this entire city council meeting, and then go back and watch past meetings that involve the Northwestern Affordable Housing Fund. And you judge for yourself. Claire fights for the people. Bobby fights for himself, just wrapped in for the people language. And if that speech was aimed at me, I call things out because I care about this community, not because I want a title. The real danger isn't the ones who speak up. It's the ones making backroom deals and calling themselves the hero.
I'll double check. I think this was loosely one of the strategies in the strategic housing plan to support people with property tax, to look into property tax relief. I don't know, Sarah, if you could speak to that.
Number of anti-displacement strategies, but we don't have specifically a property tax one.
Okay.
I believe it could be looked at, and that could be something that could be added to the assessment of anti-displacement
That's
programs.
Now here's Councilmember Bobby Burns again, trying to downplay the Evanston Property Tax Circuit Breaker, claiming it's already in the Strategic Housing Plan. But even Sarah Flax from Planning and Development corrected him, saying there's nothing in the plan addressing property tax relief, and that it's worth exploring. Egg on his face, scrambled and poached. We spent a full year researching this program and confirmed it doesn't exist in Evanston. Circuit breaker programs aren't new, but Evanston has never done one for property taxes. Bobby could have supported this. He could have stood with the residents who need relief now. Instead, he chose ego over empathy. He chose politics over the people. And when the truth came out, the mask slipped, and the people finally saw what's really been going on.
And the issue with folding it into the strategic housing plan and moving it now to another committee, I still think that committee can review it and they can amend it and make changes to it. But we need to begin to do this now if we really care about our residents who are here now, who are in need. And yes, we wanted to include rent also, but we thought that in discussing with staff, with Liza and others, that it would make more sense for the first year as a pilot program to first address homeowners to get a handle on that, and then to expand it to long-term renters as well, understanding full well that we also have long-term renters who are in need. But this is to first test the waters, understand it, get the program and the policy in place, as well as how the program works. And we've also worked out all those details. And again, we've looked at many programs across the nation. It's true, it isn't new. I hope we can finally move forward on this quickly and not have it be folded into it. Like I said, other committees can discuss it, add to it, amend it, welcome input from it, but I think we absolutely need to move forward on this. Again, it's a tried and true way to support your long-term residents who are currently, living here now. So I hope we will do that. And I think that's all for now. Thank you.
What left?
Thank you. So I think it would be great if this does move to HCDC and we're able to, get it refined rather quickly and get that back to council so that we can move forward on a plan. And again, I did wonder which details, anybody up here had issues with this. This was looked at, a group of us, including working with David Morris and others at the Cook County Assessor's Office. And it's based on studies across the nation. And that's where we came up with at or below AMI, where 5% of your where the property tax is eating up at least 5% of your property tax. We looked at the only new thing here that is not a national trend is using a square footage on the house. And I think that's a really hats off to Councilmember Davis for thinking of that. We were for a while stuck on the value of the home, but I think that did make much more sense in Evanston to go with square footage. I think that's a really, really creative, neat idea to use in terms of eligibility. And, I just want to say the state program won't be available for years, if at all, and their program is also based on spikes. So you have to demonstrate a certain spike in your property tax from one year to the next. Evanston property taxes are perpetually spiked. So I don't think, so that we may not have, the eligibility there, even when it does come forward, might be very limited in terms of who could apply for that, the way it's drafted now. So, I'd be happy to support this going to HCDC. I just hope we can really get it worked out quickly, and I hope folks will read through all the details of the proposed referral here, of the proposed ordinance, and reach out with any questions.
Here's Councilmember Clare Kelly explaining the Evanston Property Tax Circuit Breaker program while the opposers sat there stone-faced, ready to stall it. Everything she's saying was already in the packet. Renters included after the pilot year, household income under $95,000, 15-year residency required, square footage limits so lakefront mansions don't qualify. But they didn't read it because the decision to bury this program was made way before the meeting even began. Watching Claire lay out the facts while others ignored her felt like watching the light dim in that room. How do you turn your back on residents struggling to keep their homes? That's not leadership. That's indifference dressed in procedure. Claire showed what public service looks like. The opposers showed what happens when politics loses its heart.
Good evening, Council. My name is Amaad Garrett. I'm a first-year social policy and economics major at Northwestern University. I'm also a previous legislative aide in both of the chambers of the Texas State Legislature. But I'm here to voice my support of the Circuit Breaker program, which I've had the privilege to work on with Councilwoman Clare Kelly and Meleika Gardner. Despite not being a homeowner or a renter, I'm fully aware of the struggles that everyday Americans face when paying increasingly high property taxes, and how these struggles disproportionately affect those who are rooted within their communities. Teachers, barbers, community leaders, And ministers are among the individuals being displaced by unaffordable property taxes. It is these individuals who build and support thriving communities thanks to the everyday services that they provide. I deeply empathize with families who are being forced to relocate from areas like Evanston that provide comfort, security, and stability. As a concerned, principled citizen, please consider supporting this circuit breaker program as it helps sustain and preserve Evanston's residential roots and cultivates its future by incentivizing community retention. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor Biss, council members, and Evanston residents. My name is Hugo Rodriguez, and I'm a long-term resident of the 8th Ward. I came here to ask you to take a deeper look now into the proposed pilot program, Evanston Property Tax Circuit Breaker, so it can be incorporated into the new city budget. Not voting on this pilot now could create a breaking point for many of our long-term residents. This possible solution cannot wait. One of the main reasons why our city is so endearing to most of us is its diversity on many levels. And some of our most contributing members of this community are seniors. We are talking here about seniors who might be at peril of losing their homes due to the rising cost of living. And one little stroke will be the one that breaks that camel's back. We're talking here about those who are barely holding on to a decent living. We're talking here about those who have been in Evanston the longest, and many of them cannot afford to go anywhere else, and potentially losing their home due to property tax hikes will force them to a horrible place of uncertainty. We're talking here about those who perhaps grew up in Evanston, raised a family in Evanston, and have contributed to making our community what it is today. Those residents are worthy of your time and urgent consideration. If these folks start having to leave our city, that'll be one more factor to losing affordable housing. Houses are being sold for $300,000, torn down, and new houses are being built for over $1.5 million. Taxes are only going up. In the 20 years I live here, my property taxes have almost tripled. Please support this urgent issue and vote on the pilot program so it can be a part of our new budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next.
Good evening, Tricia Conley, 2nd Ward. I'd like to again commend Meleika Gardner, Councilmember Kelly, and co-sponsors Councilmember Suffredin and Davis for looking for important ways to take some of the burden off our most financially burdened homeowners and renters in Evanston with the circuit breaker ordinance proposal. I'm asking council members to please support allocating the $500,000 from the Northwestern Good Neighbor Fund for affordable housing to the 2026 pilot circuit breaker program. The program is designed to help longtime Evanston homeowners stay in their homes and keep our communities stable. The funds are already available. Now the city needs to act. Secondly, there's a lot of discussion in this budget proposal, much to be discussed, but we need to know why there is continued misinformation being shared by the city and the lack of research by our local press about the supposed need to raise taxes to fund our pensions. Why is this being used as a tool again to call for a property tax increase? Mayor Biss, do you really support the public workers? Because I don't hear your voice saying that the money is set aside already. This excuse is a convenient go-to as to why a tax increase is necessary. It is inaccurate, and throwing pensions into the mix is a bad look on our finance department and any electeds repeating that this is reasoning for a tax increase. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Mark.
4th Ward, regarding 605 Davis. Who knows the other possibilities for that parcel that could have become a reality had it not been for a behind-the-scenes push by our mayor for this skyscraper. It would be honorable, Mayor, for you to recuse yourself from a vote since your vote is already well publicly recorded. Regarding the property tax circuit breaker for low to moderate income seniors, all you on the dais who are convinced a huge property tax break for a developer is just fine, but who will delay or display lack of support for tax breaks for residents, not a good look. But it's not too late. Some local press have dismissed this proposal because only 20% of Evanston homeowners are cost burdens. Even if that figure is accepted, and it's highly questionable, that 20% is guaranteed to be made up of our lower income homeowning seniors living on Social Security, most prevalently in the 5th, 8th, 9th, and 2nd wards, and disproportionately our Black and brown population that we are losing. I thought our housing strategy was focused on keeping them. Those who support upzoning and proliferation of new construction, the experts who have spoken at your own forums, say that displacement is a risk and must be guarded against. Here's a tactic to stop that. Opportunity is knocking. Your support is appropriate and needed.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am a 30-plus year Can everybody hear me?
Sure can.
Okay, I'm a 30-plus year resident of the 9th Ward, and I'm speaking tonight in support of the circuit breaker. During President Obama's administration, he created an executive order that created the Hardest Hit Fund, which provided mortgage assistance to distressed homeowners. Being out of work at the time and not yet old enough to qualify for Social Security, I received this assistance, which kept me living in Evanston and kept me from becoming unhoused. That is why when the city began participatory budgeting, I joined the housing group. The proposal for affordable housing from that committee was to provide dollars to both NOAA landlords and District 65 parents, saying tell tenants to keep and grow affordable housing and support marginalized families at the same time. This was approved in the balloting and by the city council, but the dollars didn't go there. Now is the time, with additional dollars coming from Northwestern, to take care of the elderly and low-income homeowners and keep them in Evanston. This would create a city-managed pool of dollars not contracted out or given to so-called nonprofit developers. We have done this multiple times. The homeowner repair program, reparations, the guaranteed income fund. We don't need another infrastructure. We have it. Look at the elections just this last week across the country, and progressive city councils who stood up for real affordable housing controlled by the city won elections in Virginia, New York, Maine, Ithaca, New York, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Seattle, Washington, and many more. We, the people of Evanston, have shown through our actions in challenging ICE by providing mutual aid to our neighbors that we care. Now is the time for you, the political leaders, to show that you care with deeds and not just words. Pass the circuit breaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Things like one, Councilmember Rogers, you said something about delaying the inevitable. That's also like the entire theory behind the field of medicine, right? The inevitable. I mean, it's a question about how, there are people who need this help. This is a specific problem. I think, Councilmember Nusma, you're pointing out who this doesn't help, while true, doesn't really get to the merits of how many people could this help and where does it fit into a larger plan. Do we have staff that can figure out how many people potentially this would affect? And in terms of the urgency, I think I'm not breaking any news by saying if you look at the other taxing bodies that are on your property tax bill, it's very likely that there will be people who see property tax increases that could create the problem that this is seeking to address. So if we can get in front of it and at least come up with a framework of eligibility, we can be in a position to help people when the inevitable happens. I think there are valid concerns about, again, the eligibility and duration are valid concerns, but by pointing out who this doesn't help, it doesn't eliminate the category of people that this would help. And they're real and they live here. And we should have a plan. And this shouldn't be our only plan. This is similar to what Councilmember Burns says about unit mix in developments, right? Like the fact that this wouldn't help everybody doesn't mean it wouldn't help. No, it would still help people. And it's something that we could come up with a plan around, and most likely it's something that's going to be needed in increased numbers in the very near future. And it could even be, if the county's sequencing of property tax bills remains what it is, it might not even be an increase in your property taxes that's a problem. It's the fact that you get back-to-back bills in very short order that could create problems for people. So I think moving this forward at whatever pace is appropriate is important, but not moving it at all is ignoring a problem that will just continue to exist.
First off, I'd like to say that, the size of the home is listed here as 2878 square feet. So we aren't talking about mansions on the lake. The other thing I'd like to just point out is that this does go to HCDC and is put in part of the, there's been a little bit of discussion two different ways here. If it goes to HCDC, it does need to be part of the strategic plan. It can't follow the strategic plan. It has to be part of the strategic plan if we're going to go that route. So there is an urgency to get this going because we don't want this to be the thing that's holding up the strategic housing plan either. And so I don't know if, how we make that happen, but if this is going to be kicked to HCDC, it really does need to be part of that discussion. It can't be, oh, we're moving the strategic housing plan at this pace and this will come in afterwards. No, I just kind of want to make that clear because there's been some discussion where like, oh, when we get to this and that sort of thing. So it does need to be part of that discussion if it's going there.
And the issue with folding it into the strategic housing plan and moving it now to another committee, I still think that committee can review it and they can amend it and make changes to it, but we need to begin to do this now if we really care about our residents who are here now, who are in need. And yes, we wanted to include rent also, but we thought that in discussing with staff, with Liza and others, that it would make more sense for the first year as a pilot program to first address homeowners to get a handle on that, and then to expand it to long-term renters as well, understanding full well that we also have long-term renters who are in need. But this is to first test the waters, understand it, get the program and the policy in place, as well as how the program works. And we've also worked out all those details. And again, we've looked at many programs across the nation. It's true, it isn't new. I hope we can finally move forward on this quickly and not have it be folded into it. Like I said, other committees can discuss it, add to it, amend it, welcome input from it, but I think we absolutely need to move forward on this. Again, it's a tried and true way to support your long-term residents who are currently, living here now. So I hope we will do that. And I think that's all for now. Thank you.
40 left.
Thank you. So I think it would be great if this does move to HCDC and we're able to, get it refined rather quickly and get that back to council so that we can move forward on a plan. And again, I did wonder which details anybody up here had issues with this. This was looked at, a group of us, including working with David Morris and others at the Cook County Assessor's Office. And it's based on studies across the nation. And that's where we came up with at or below AMI, where 5% of your where the property tax is eating up at least 5% of your property tax. We looked at the only new thing here that is not a national trend is using a square footage on the house. And I think that's a really hats off to Councilmember Davis for thinking of that. We were for a while stuck on the value of the home, but I think that did make much more sense in Evanston to go with square footage. I think that's a really, really creative, neat idea to use in terms of eligibility. And, I just want to say the state program won't be available for years, if at all, and their program is also based on spikes. So you have to demonstrate a certain spike in your property tax from one year to the next. Evanston property taxes are perpetually spiked. So I don't think, so that we may not have, the eligibility there, even when it does come forward, might be very limited in terms of who could apply for that, the way it's drafted now. So, I'd be happy to support this going to HCDC. I just hope we can really get it worked out quickly, and I hope folks will read through all the details of the proposed referral here, of the proposed ordinance, and reach out with any questions.